So starting the insulation, start with the roof. This is 1-inch polyiso. There's really no magic to this. You just measure, cut, then tinker with the size about 10 times until it kind of fits perfectly. I cut just OSB and put it in there. Some people you see on YouTube take and spray this and that. I don't think that does anything because there's a lot of other stuff in the way that probably never even makes contact. All this is for, these things, is to hold it in place while I'm going to take and just spray foam in this edge. Now once that foam is cured in about 12 hours, it ain't going nowhere. That stuff is super rigid along the whole course of it. So I just use a little knife, and it cuts really easily. So I just kind of repeat this all the way down. I don't think I'm going to have enough of these boards to do the whole ceiling. So I'll just probably do half and then let it dry and then do the other half tomorrow. Then the walls are the same thing. You just brace them apart. This is not magic. You just stick them in there as best you can, and then the magic is that the foam fills in all the defects. So that should be pretty straightforward for anyone doing this. But I don't bother trying to spray. That doesn't work. I can't imagine that would do much good to hold these things in place while the foam dries. So I won't show all the rest of it. You get the idea. Cut, put it in place, do as many of these as you have boards or a can's worth of foam. Foam it, take it down, next day move on. So there are two kinds of foam. There's gaps and cracks and windows and doors. Gaps and cracks will expand some, but windows and doors will only cure at the foam that you put in there. So when they first made this stuff, people were putting it in the inside windows, and then the window wouldn't close anymore because the foam had expanded so much that it bent the frame. So don't do that. So this is what I use the gaps and cracks for. And then if you look over here, there are little struts that go on the wall. Now, these aren't hooked to the body. They're not spot welded or anything. They run some foam in back of there, but that's about it. So if you put the gaps and cracks in here, you will notice that the body bulges out on the other side. So that's not good. So just put the windows and doors here, or that's what I'm going to do. You can do whatever you want. And then up here, I'm going to put the gaps and cracks. So I don't really care. I don't really care. It's not going to bend. Now, if it does get up in here, it might bulge out a little bit too, but who cares? You're not going to see that. But you'll definitely see the wall as you're walking down. You'll see that there's a little bulge where these just along that strut line. So there it is. Oh my gosh, what a mess. So one of my main thoughts is to not get too fussy with this first coat. So you're just looking to get it along, get the foam in the sides here to hold the boards solid. This is going to be like a two-part process. One is to get the boards in place. The second is to get fancy and fill in all the little teeny cracks and holes with foam. So this is day one, so tomorrow I'll do this last little bit and part of the walls in. So working on the insulation, got the top in there so I can take these down now. I've done a little bit over here, so I need to trim all that off. It's boring, super boring work, but it's got to get done. It doesn't do itself. I tried lying down, but when I got back up, the insulation still wasn't done. So obviously somebody has to do it. So this is something I changed. This big column is a tough place to insulate. I tried blue denim in there, the just denim insulation. Wasn't too impressed with that. So I had a lot of these extra pieces of foam. So I just started to pile them all in there and pat them down, not hard, but just enough to where they would fill in all the voids. And that seems to work pretty good. Then I used a little piece of just tape over it to just keep them intact. I suppose I could go back and take out the tape and then fill this with foam. So that would make it more waterproof, vapor-proof. So is that perfect? No. I guess there's a problem with denim, is that denim gets a little bit, will absorb water. There's a problem with rock wool, and that rock wool apparently attracts pests. There's a problem with fiberglass in that it's tough to breathe. There's a problem with Insulate because it's like $1 per inch. So even though I bought some, so I'm going to put it in the real tough places. So I'm thinking about even putting some of this stuff up in here and just pack it in and then put some tape over it and call that closed. I mean, so the one material that everybody seems to agree on is this polyiso foam. It's stable. It doesn't cause mold or attract mold. It doesn't attract pests. It's got a very high R value, and even this foam is pretty good. Some people say that they've seen it turn to powder. I've never seen that. I've put it in a lot of RVs, and I've never seen that happen. Maybe the real old foam when they first came out with it, but this new stuff is pretty stable. So does it have to be, good enough to last 30 years? No. I'll probably pull this stuff out in 10 years and build another van inside of it, or somebody else will. I don't know. It's good enough for what I got. And the main thing is you don't want a lot of mold in your van. You don't want a lot of condensation in the van. And there's no easy way to do that, and I don't think it's even possible. So foam seems to be the least problematic of all the different materials. When you go online, people almost get into fist fights over what kind of insulation they put in their van. Oh, it's denim. Oh, it's fiber. Oh. You got to put something in. So I think foam is the least troublesome. Yes, it will bulge if you get too fancy with it and you don't use the right kind of foam like I talked about. You will bulge things. So, but in places where it's welded or riveted, it's going to work a lot. It's going to be a lot more stable. So if you don't want condensation in your van, then I would say don't have a shower. Don't have a toilet, because what's that? It's a ton of water inside your van. So I thought we're trying to avoid that. So I'm not going to have a shower in this van. We shower in a little shower tent. I'll make a video of that to some point. I'm not going to have a toilet. Like I said in past videos, we've camped in vans for 13 years, and I've never once had the desire to poop inside my van. Not once. So there's always a gas station, or we're in a state park and there's restrooms, or there's a forest nearby and we backpack. I poop in the forest a lot of times. And in many ways, it's better. It smells good. It's a nice, clean place. Pit toilets, disgusting. But, you take what you can get. I've never thought that I needed a toilet in a van. Maybe if you have a Class A, huge thing on the road, and it's got a nice ventilation fan inside the toilet. Boy, what do you do if you're camping with somebody? Oh, I just used the van. I'd stay out of there for the next hour. So, there's no toilets in this van. No toilet for you. So I just, yes, we do breathe inside the van. Yes, humans do exhale moisture from their lungs. You just do the best you can. Next question is to vapor barrier or not to vapor barrier. I'm not going to put a vapor barrier on this. The vapor barrier is the foam. The vapor barrier is all the spray foam. When it's all done, you can go and try to hit every little pinhole, but man, I don't think it's that precise. I think a lot of the arguments online are just in theory, but in practical application it never really happens that's a problem. Unless it's just wet in the van all the time. It's not that wet. So I'm going to be as tight as I can, but you're going to put a lot of nail holes in when I put the boards on and all that. It's going to go through the vapor barrier if there was one. I don't see the point, but I'm sure there are people who would always put vapor barriers in. And one thought is that the vapor barrier would hold the moisture inside the wall and wouldn't let it escape back out if there was some kind of egress route for it. I don't know, so just do the best you can and then enjoy the van. Don't overthink everything. So this up here is a 2-inch thick polyiso board. This down here is a 2-inch thick polyiso board, but I've got another inch to play with on this area, so I'm going to put one more board that'll go over the whole thing, so that'll be 3 inches. Same thing over here. This is a 3 inches of foam. So I like the one continuous piece. That's gold. So then you have to do the same thing over on this wall. I hate insulation. And that's what it looks like done. So very nice. Like it. It's pretty. It's so pretty. So there's a picture of the other wall, the first layer. Just these are all 2 inches up here. So in the morning I'll trim off all the foam and then put another 1 inch like that one is, and that'll complete it. So the last thing then is to insulate all these little things. So I'm just going to use that all the little cubes of excess styrofoam and stuff them in there, and then maybe put a little coat of foam to just kind of keep them in there, and then a 1 inch piece will go in between each one. That ought to do it.